Hey, good morning. How are you all today? Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I am Steve Smith. I was just about to shoot one. I already put one up over on the YouTube channel. I was getting ready to shoot one for the Patreon folks, our special group on Patreon. By the way, I think maybe later I might put this one on YouTube. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, come over to Patreon because you get a lot more stuff over there, and I'll always put the link down below. But anyway, so I was checking my messages that I got there, and I saw that I had a new question from one of our highly esteemed patrons. It's a great question, and I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce this. It's Garatex. So I don't. Anyway, that's you all. If you're on Patreon, you've seen him, her, them comment before. It's a great question, so I want to cover it. And it was on the Suburban Prepping the Truth video that I put out several days ago. Okay, so it says, she, in the suburbs myself, question for water. I have some cases. I have collapsed containers to fill. I have filters. I have tablets. I do not have bulk storage due to space. Curious what thoughts are on what to do for water preparedness in the suburbs, where space is premium other than water catchment in the backyard. I avoid unsightly front yard cisterns. Yeah, okay, that's a great question. I'll tell you what I do. And there may be people on here who, will jump in and make suggestions as well. First off, you have filtration, so that's good. We have run everything through a Berkey for years and years and years. And we supposedly have very good city water here, but I wouldn't drink any city water out of anywhere. If you go to the water part and see what the chemicals are that they use to purify it after they take it out of the river, of course the river that the city upstream already dumped all their waste into, you wouldn't drink it either. So that's the first thing, Berkey's, and then of course we have other water filtration, but he's asked specifically about storage. Okay, let's go from small to large. Okay, I don't buy water cases of water. I think that's a waste of money. The kids still drink pop, and occasionally when we have family events, we'll buy the 2-liter, pop and stuff like that. So when those are done, I just rinse them out and I fill them up with water through from our faucet, and then I put them out in the garage. The reason that I do that, I don't pre-filter those because they're made to go through a filter if we need them. Okay, simple as that. Don't use milk cartons because the plastic in the milk carton can leach. It's not the same grade of plastic as you'll get in the 2 liters. People will say, well, you got to rotate these out. I don't. So you'd be surprised how quickly you can start storing a lot of water out just in your garage. You can make some shelving, and I don't know how many gallons or liters, but I'm American, so I say gallons. I don't know how many gallons I've got stored like that, but it's a lot. And the good thing about those also, if you need to boogie, if you need to get up and scoot and run, it's easy to just grab a bunch of those bottles. And even, a person can carry one of those bottles. You can toss a whole bunch in the truck when you're scooting, or you can give a couple to each person. So it's immediately transportable. Now, I know that's not exactly what our question was about, but I thought that's where I'd start. Secondly, I store a lot of water. I won't say how much, I'll just say a lot. In the 55-gallon blue drums that I've bought from restaurant supply places. Okay, don't buy them new; they're expensive. But if you track them down, Craigslist, places like that, you'll find places selling these things. I think I got mine for, I don't know, $15-20 a piece. They're going to be 55 gallons each. If you got 10 now, you've got over 500 gallons. but that's a good place to start. Now, also, you can go with the IBC totes. I mentioned that once before, and somebody came on and said, I wouldn't get those because you never know what's been stored in them and all that. Well, you can have a pretty good idea of what's been stored in them if you track them. There are people who deal with those, and you know, they can pretty much, if you're dealing with somebody who's, you know, reputable. Now, other than that, you can, you know, and I'd say the 55-gallon drums, I mean, you can daisy chain them, you know, or you can use them individually. You can set up in all sorts of different ways. And go on YouTube, you'll see more ways of putting together your 55-gallon drum water storage than you can shake a stick at. I just have mine set, you know, over in a certain section of the property with a tarp over them. I don't get fancy, to be honest. If I need that water, I have pumps, hand pumps. I can pump it out. Now, we're putting together something now that maybe I'll talk about later, and it is a rain catchment system. I don't do that, to be honest. And every time it rains really hard and I see the, you know, hundreds of gallons of water going into my yard, I said, maybe I should, but I haven't yet because I have a lot of water already. Okay, and one thing that I'll do, I'll just fill up those and then, you know, have some in your basement. You can store a lot of water just over, you know, in your basement in 55-gallon drums. Outside, they won't freeze if you don't fill them up all the way, and also keep them out of the wind. You know, keep them kind of have a barricade around them so they don't look unsightly. And like I say, I cover mine with a tarp too. But again, I don't pre-treat that so much. I wash them out really good, and then I'll fill them and I'll put some bleach in them. But also, if we're going to use that for drinking water, we're going to put that through filters. Now, if you want to go beyond that, you can also, if you don't want to be unsightly, bury those in the ground in your backyard. I think a lot of people don't think about burying things in their yard when they live in the suburbs, but you can. You know, you can put a lot down there. After that, you can buy large water tanks. I mean, you can get them up into thousands of gallons. Now, you know, the bigger they are, the more they cost. But you can also, you know, get somebody in or if you want to dig it by hand, you can get somebody in with a backhoe and dig you a big hole in the backyard. However big a tank you want. I mean, you can get up to, I don't know how high they go. As a matter of fact, in my first book, you all might be interested. I think it's in the reversion. My first book, I talk about how they at Stonemont bring in large tanks to use for fire suppression at the compound. So think about that. You know, if you want a whole lot of water, bury it in your backyard, and you know, just have a pump to get it out. You can have electrical pumps. Make sure you have hand pumps, or if, you know, everything comes down. But that's my advice. That would be my solution. Like I say, in case I probably will put this on YouTube later on, simply because this is a good question. It's a great question. It's something that a lot of people don't think about. Just because you live in the suburbs, it doesn't mean you can't store a lot of water, just like you can't store a lot of food. I mean, just doesn't mean you can't. Okay, you can. You can store a bunch. I'll be talking more about suburban prepping too. I see that a lot of people are interested in that. A lot of people want to hear more about that, you know, because so much of the so-called prepping is kind of concentrates on, well, we live way out in the woods and all this, and most preppers don't. Most preparedness people live in the suburbs, to be honest, and quite a few in the city. So I'll be talking about that. But since I'm going to be eventually putting this on YouTube, guys, when you're watching this on YouTube, realize this is the kind of stuff that we do on Patreon. We answer questions from people. You now are getting the benefit of one of our patrons asking me a question over there. So come be a part of it. The link is down below. And remember that any preparedness question you have, I bet I've already answered it in detail, much more than I could ever get to in these videos, in the Stonemont series, my books, The Reversion, The Revival, The Renewal, and Appeal to Heaven, The Blessings of Freedom, and the latest one that's just come out, Hostages to Fortune. It's a great series, like I've said, and I don't put, for the most part, I don't put this on Patreon usually, but hundreds of thousands of people have learned a lot all over the world. I've had people tell me they've finished reading through the whole series for a 5th time and are still finding things in it they had missed before. You want the complete plan, the complete guide to total preparedness and survival. This is it. Get them on Amazon. The link is down below. Or you can get them from me directly through our website, stonemont.us. And you can even put in there what you'd like me to sign in the book for you. You know, whether you just say, sign whatever you want, Steve, or you can say to Bob, or you can say, happy birthday, Uncle Bob, or whatever you want. I'll be happy to do it. So that was a great question. Thank you for the question. And thank you for putting it out there so all these other people could learn from it. That's what we're about. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, and I'll probably talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.